Welcome to another video on how to become a business consulting freelancer. So again, I'm just going to make a quick recap of this section 4 on how to conduct a proper research and gather quality data. Recognize that data is something very powerful because it can help you influence others, reinforce your point of view, persuade, but also can be misleading. And especially if you're going to conduct a research for a consulting project, identify the most and the least valuable data is crucial. First party data, data that comes from the company, second party data from trust sources, and third party data from aggregate sources. And then, from a broad perspective, well, look at how to conduct a research. First, look things from different perspective. Okay, you want to play devil advocate with yourself because things are not black and white. Gather relevant data as keep track of every source and note you obtain, and qualify your data, and don't forget to circle back with the client. So I look at the guidelines on how Paul Mendes, the Zero to Mastering structure, made based on a tourist website. Again, the research he made it was made on marketing, so marketing research, but it can give you a sense as a developer of what are the marketing people do and how you can apply as a software developer. Okay, so you are integrating is the technical aspect with the marketing and sales. Okay, very important. So you understand is what is the business model. Okay, so first, when Paul Mendes conduct that marketing research from that tourist website, he look at the website to understand what they offer. Okay, uh, all their product and service, and then go into the specific, which look at the category, the pricing, how much they charge, what makes this company unique. Okay, and uh, gather first party data if you can have access to that to see how they have in performance, what they have done in the past, and from there use that to see how you can provide your suggestions. Once you conduct a research for their website, their branding, their uh, pricing, how much they charge, the company's review, then you look at the competitor analysis to find out who the other authors and other players are in that industry, to know what they're doing and see what you can learn from them by taking keywords based on that research, which is something that you're going to use that keyword research on keyword tools, okay, to get a clear idea of what's going on in that industry. And from there, you move on to now look at broad news, the world's news, to see how everything that you have researched, what is most likely to work today by receiving and by looking all of this up-to-date data, and to see where this industry is going and how this industry is adapting to regulations. So in my case, because I dedicate time to the e-commerce sphere, okay, well, I need to know is this is a practical. Um, this is putting a practice all of this learning, right? Especially when I'm conducting a e-commerce research, since I want to create a POC using a range of or an array of web technologies. But first, I need to understand is the primary concept, like the e-commerce. So Amazon mentioned that well. It refers to the transaction of good and service over the internet, whereas Shopify mentioned yes. While the e-business refers to all aspects of operating an online business, whether it's marketing, sales, accounting, human research, management operations, IT, customer service, and R&D, research and development. E-commerce refers specifically to the transaction of good and service on the internet. So then I look at the different actors involved and how they relate each other. So you have the government, business, and consumers, and the most widely type of e-commerce or relationship is the business to consumers, such as online retailers like Amazon, Costco, Walmart, Target, digital marketplace, where now consumers can purchase to small business or individual using digital platforms like Etsy or eBay, for example. Subscription service like Netflix or Spotify, online travel and booking, where now consumers can book a flight or hotel or rent a car online in places like Expedia, Airbnb, and uh, Booking.com, or ordering food and delivering service like Grubhub, Air, DoorDash, and Uber Eats. Another relationship, okay, or another type of e-commerce is the business to business, where you have online platforms like Alibaba, Amazon e-business, eBay business, EDI, electronic data interchange, which are uh, traditionally paperwork that made uh, traditionally paperwork that that is made or they were made on paper, like purchase order or invoice. Now it is done electronically using one of these EDI systems. EBM provide that, so they exchange this data uh, between or inside of the company or externally. Also, you have online portals where very large business organizations set up online portal to streamline their supply chains and procurement process, which involves the purchase or sale of large volume of good and service to get a good bid usually. So you have the supply center, Walmart supply center, or the SAP Ariba network. This uh, accountable this software accountant for accountant, and wholesale e-commerce like Grainger or Uline, business to business payment solutions like Stripe or PayPal. Okay, then um, you look at the government to business, such as public procurement portals like the FBO in the US or the UK contract finder service, payment systems and tax filing. So the US have something called the electronic federal tax payment systems, whereas on the UK you have is the HM uh, custom revenue, permit and licensing for food service or building permits, international trade and custom clearance. So government facilitate the, the international or this cross-border trade by providing its online service for electronic custom clearance or export declarations, and business registrations, such as the US SBA, the Small Business Administrations, or the UK Company House. Another relationship is with government, with consumers, where now you have is tax payment portals like the IRS or the H in the US, uh, or the UK contract or the UK HM Custom and Revenue, permit and licensing or vehicle and licensing applications, passport applications and renewal, payment of utility bills like water, electricity, property taxes, among others, government fees, and uh, ordering birth and death certificates in place like the General Register Office on the UK or the National Centre for Health Statistics. And another relationship is now with the consumers to government, such as online donations, payment of fines and fees, online permit and licensing, for example, fishing licensing or hunting permit, as uh, online petitions in place like change.org, for example. So once I know this and where does an e-commerce takes place, which is right now on the mobile enterprise or the social media, okay? So now, then I look at how to create effective and appealing consumer report. Because once you generate all of this, so once you conduct this research, okay, so by looking at the first party data, the second party data, the third party data, possibly, okay, now it is time to know how to visualize your finding in a visually appealing presentation. Because after all, the client wants to know is uh, yeah, because after all, the client wants to know is how you reach to that conclusion, and that is show them through a statistic and charts, as well as the patterns in each of your slides, and tell them how you reach to that conclusion. So I would like to use this, right? So the whole point of to visualize, or the whole point of know how to visualize your findings into a visually engaging presentation is when you display data in a visually appealing way with statistics and charts, it's more easy to point out the meaningful patterns. And as a consultant, the client needs to know how you came with that conclusion. And with that knowledge, you can put your suggestions into practice. And this is something that will stand out from the competition. So business, uh, so business is going to see that you go above and beyond as a consultant, and you are not another consultant that just do the that just does the bare minimum to get by. And this is the holy grail of this. So, or to know the the what matters. Okay, this is what matters, especially when you create this visually appealing report. Okay, when you display data in a visually appealing with statistics and in charts, it's much more easy to point out the meaningful patterns. And as a consultant, the client needs to know how you reach to that conclusion. And with that knowledge, you can put your suggestion into practice. And that business is going to see you, okay, or the client of that business is going to see you that you go above and beyond as a consulting, and you're not another consultant that just does the bare minimum to get by. So in my own words, the client wants to know how you reach to that conclusion through visually engaging presentation with charts and statistics to see the meaningful pattern, and then allow you to implement your suggestion as a consultant. And this will stand out from the competition and tell the client, hey, you're not another consultant that just the bare minimum just to get by. So then I look at the different graph that we can use here, right? The different graph that you can use to include in your report. So we have bar graph, pie chart, line graph, area chart, scatter plots, bubble chart, heat map, geomap, tables, waterfall charts, pictograph, and that's all. So um, so yeah, I'm going to walk through this because this is something that might be helpful to understand, okay? Especially if you're going to create your visually engaging report, it's important to show is the statistics and the chart and understand what charts can be used, right? So bar chart are generally, okay? So bar chart or bar graph are very versatile and they are best used to show change over time, okay? So best use, let me put this here. So bar chart or bar graph, best use case. What the? So bar graph, best use case, show change over time. So show change over time. Okay, doesn't matter. Okay. Okay. So best use case or most common use case. Most common use case. Okay. Most common use case. Show change over time. Okay. Compare different categories or part of a whole. Or parts of a whole. Okay, so this is the most common use case of bar graph, right? Is over show change over time, compare different categories, or part of a whole. Okay. Then I look at the pie chart. Okay, the pie chart. Okay, the pie chart. Okay. So pie chart. Oops, not all. Exactly. So pie chart. Exactly. Bar graph. Then you have bar pie chart. Okay. Pie chart are best used, or most common use case is for uh, making part to whole comparison. Making part to whole comparison. Okay, making part to whole comparison with discrete or continuous data. They're most impactful with small set of dataset. Okay, making part of a whole, making part to whole comparison with discrete or continuous data. They are most impactful. They are most impactful with a small data set. Okay. So according to that data hero, then I look here at line graph. Mhm. Line graph here. So line graph are used to show, okay, most common use case. Okay, line graph are used to show time series relationship. To show time series relationships with continuous data, with continuous continuous with continuous data. They help show trends, acceleration, deceleration, and volatility. Okay, so they help show acceleration. So they help to show trends, acceleration, deceleration, and volatility. Okay, so that's it with the line graph. Okay, so the most common use case is to show time series relationship. Again, time series relationship. This is not the same as bar graph, where they show change over time, or to compare different categories that change over time, or part of a whole. Whereas with graph, with pie charts, okay, whereas with pie charts, the most common use case is making part to a whole comparison with discrete or continuous data. They are most impactful with small data set. So if you want to make a, if you want to make a, if you want to see a comparison with discrete or continuous data with different parts as a whole, how they compose that, pie chart is a good candidate. So they are most impactful with small data set. And when it comes to line graph, okay, the most common use case for show time series relationship. Again, with continuous data. Okay, whereas bar graph can show you change over time or compare different categories, line graph can show you time series relationship with continuous data, and they help you to show trends, acceleration, deceleration, and volatility. So trends, acceleration, deceleration, and volatility. For example, when you evaluate is the consumption, the data consumption, or the overload of a server, you know, how to create effective and appealing consulting reports. Okay, this is with line graph. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then we have here is why you do that. Okay, scatter plots. You have here scatter plots, scatter plot. So most common use case. Mm-hmm. Relationship between items based on two set of variables. Relationship between items based on two set of variables. Okay, if you want to see the relationship of two, if you want to see the relationship between items based on two set of variables, this is the way. This is the most common use case for scatter plot. Okay, so customer happiness by responsive time, correlation in the large amount of data, show correlation in a large most common use case, show correlation in a large amount of data set. So a scatter plot. So here to show the relationship between uh, items, is to show the relationship between items on two set of variables. Is to see the relationship on two, okay, is to see the relationship between items on two set of variables. And here we have is this two set of variable, which is time to response and customer happiness, right? So this is the two variables they're analyzing, and is to see is the correlation in large amount of data. Relationship between relation between items based on two set of variables. Mm-hmm. Okay. So scatter plot, the most common use case is to see relationship between items based on two set of variables. Okay, so for example, customer happiness in time to response. So you see is, or you can see is the correlation in large amount of data. Okay, scatter plot. Okay, so most common use case here is to see the relationship between items based on two set of variables. For example, a customer happiness in time to respond. Mm-hmm. Nope. Stay you there. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay. Bubble charts. Okay. Most common use case. Yeah. Most common use case. Bubble charts are good for displaying nominal comparison or ranking relationship. Nominal comparison or ranking relationship. Okay. Displaying nominal comparisons or ranking relationships. They showcase three variables. So they showcase three variables of data and are a combo of a scatter plot and a proportional area chart, and are a combo of a scatter plot and proportional and proportional area chart. These are helpful. These are helpful in comparison. Helpful to compare. So helpful helpful in comparing multiple data points on the same chart. Okay, unlike the scatter plot where you want to see the relationship based on items, when you want to see the relationship between items based on two set of variables such as customer happiness and time to response, to see the correlation in large amount of data. Okay, this is a scatter plot. Bubble chart is a combo of scatter plot and proportional area chart because they show you three variables of data, and it is helpful in compare multiple data points on the same chart. For example, our spend online, age, and the group, so females and male. Mhm. Mhm. Okay, so that'll be all for this video. Take care. Bye bye.